the daily ritual, looking whether this one is recording. Looks like the microphone is connected. Yeah, I have this microphone here around the neck. So good day, my name is Martin Schweiger. I'm a patent attorney in Singapore and also a powerlifter. I take you with me on my daily walk through the streets of Singapore. Today is 18th of August 2025. It's a Monday. Monday is a special day because I do strength training in the evening. So I don't really need so much walking on a Monday. But I do it still. Because number one, there is this vitamin D under the full sun generation. It's not very efficient because I made an experiment long time ago, 1.5 years. And what I did is I walked for 1 month under the full sun at the equator. And my vitamin D only went up by a few units from threshold to deficiency to, okay, a bit better than threshold to deficiency, but not something that moved the needle. So I do not think that walking will help. And I have not met one single person in the 20 months since I do my program that had good vitamin D values without taking supplements. So I believe in supplements and I also believe in measurement. I just saw a YouTube clip of a medical doctor in Bavaria. He said that he would be the medicine man of the Süddeutsche Zeitung, and he said that most people don't need vitamin D, and he didn't even use the term measurement. And I would say, what doctor is this? And that brings me to my next issue. I mean, a few videos ago, or was it even the last video, I classified the 4 categories of people on YouTube that I trust or I take into account. And the first 2 categories are people who are into science, I mean medical scientists, and it's not necessarily a medical doctor by training. I also know a physicist who works with radiation, and he's in a hospital and treating patients there. Probably what they call under the supervision of trained physicists. But what I have found out, very likely it's more that the physicists are under the supervision of, now that the medical doctors or the physicians The physicians work under the supervision of a physicist. Because this guy is scientific, probably. He knows how to measure environmental values or body values. And I believe that's a must. So if I see a doctor, like this German newspaper doctor, stating that people don't need vitamin D without having measured the vitamin D level in the blood, I believe these people don't know what they talk about, and I wouldn't listen to them. Now, there's a deeper level to that. And now I'm speaking as a system identification engineer by training. Someone who's treating the human body without having systems, technology, knowledge. I mean, shouldn't treat the human body, I believe. And even not work as a surgeon, repairing broken tendons and muscles and bones. Because in the human body, all components are interconnected somehow. I don't think that there is one component of the body that works independently of other components of the body. Maybe except cutting your fingernails or the hair. Yeah, maybe, but that's one of the few ones. I love these hardware shops, especially when there's a copper tube blinking here. Yeah. Hello. That reminds me so much to my childhood and my first job as a motorbike repair mechanic. And bicycles, of course. Back to my system identification knowledge. There are two. First, I had one area where one could recognize what I call a linear thinker, which is not a very positive word. Someone who thinks that by influencing one component of the body could fix that component without thinking of interaction with other components of the body. My first example, you know, for a long time, is cancer. Cancer treatment. There are some people, and I belong to them because this is how I learned it. Ooh, there's a wild boar. I've never seen that wild boar before. Oh, it's a male white boar in the midst of Singapore. If you meet such a guy in the forest, which I had, this is really the time to climb a tree. Look at those teeth. Ah, that's African. Oh, seems to be because you can see from the long teeth that this is not European, it's African. And then, but this is a European deer, and this one is a mini bull. I don't need to explain to you what's the difference between an ox and a bull, and this is a bull. I have no, yeah. is a strong one. Oh, there are more sculptures here. I've never seen that before. Yes, this is a Chinese lion. Then we have here stone. And this is some Asian stuff. I cannot say anything about that. But the others I recognize. Back to my cancer. So there is one theory of how cancer happens, is that for some reason, could be through a photon from the universe or some poison here on Earth, one cell gets, how to say, pushed out of balance, maybe? That's what they say. Or other stuff. And that cell would split and split and split and split and split. And because the immune system is so weak, the body cannot defend itself. And then the cancer cell would take over more and more until the whole body is assimilated, like when the Klingons assimilate a Star Trek actor. And then this thing suddenly is an entire cancer with 2 legs and a head and 2 arms and whatever. And then because cancer is not good, then the body must die at a certain percentage of cancer in the body. And you can treat that by poisoning all cells of the body and hoping that enough cells would die so that the immune system could take over and then destroy the cancer. Yeah. You can also shortcut by surgery if you can do a surgery. That's one way to identify. I believe this is wrong. Another path that I've discovered, what people often believe, is that you get a heart attack because there's plaque in your arteries. And because the arteries are blocked, the supply of the heart muscle with oxygen would be impaired. And because of that, the muscle cannot work anymore and dies. And if enough muscle cells are killed that way, then the heart will stop working, and that's a heart attack. So for them, you know what? The more I think about that explanation, the more stupid it sounds to me. It may be that there are such cases, but I don't think that for the majority of cases it is like that. And the important thing is that you expose yourself to such critique. Because only when you expose yourself to other options that work are you open for a systemic view of the body. But if you say from the beginning that this is nonsense, the only way cancer and heart attacks work as I have described before, then you will never find out other options, and you can never check out the hypothesis whether there are other reasons. And then you might say, So why would I want that? I say, yeah, very simple. Number one, when it comes to cancer, that would take away the fear of cancer, which is a trigger for cancer itself. And number two, if you accept that there are other potential root causes for heart attack, you can address those, because yes, we can address plaque in our arteries, and I'm doing so. And I need to tell you, I have basically removed plaque from my arteries over a period of 18 months. And yes, that's possible without pharmaceuticals and without surgery or stents or whatever. That's among us why I'm walking 10, 12,000 steps a day. Because that is an important part of removing plaque from the arteries. And if I can do it, why should you not be able to do the same? And it feels so good if your body is under your control. So now, I give you a short outline of other theories of what happens when you have cancer. So, first, you need to look up the keyword Warburg cycle. W-A-R-B-U-R-G. I believe his first name was Otto and he was a nobleman, so Otto von Warburg, but not sure. He got a Nobel Prize for discovery of the Warburg cycle in the human cells. Or is it human? I don't know. Cells nurturing on glucose in the cells that is used for fermentation, despite oxygen being there. And cancer cells feed on the fermentation products. And here in short words, what I understood, again, I'm an engineer by training, and I speak now as an engineer, not as a physician. The body is run outside of its specifications. Specification means the allowed range of what you can do with the body. And I believe the specifications here are with respect to food and to hormones that are issued with respect to the environmental conditions we live in. I'm speaking here of mental environmental conditions. So if you live a high-stress life, then certain hormones are issued. And if you do that for a very long time, then the body would react to your body being outside of the normal specifications. And so loud. And it would initiate some emergency programs, and that is done on a DNA level. There's a process called methylation, where methyls are put on certain areas of the DNA that allow biological processes in the cell, on a cell level, to run, or they inhibit those processes. And I'm not sure how it works, but as a programmer, I would either randomly or in a determined way run certain routines and suppress others, just to try out whether I can bring my body into a state where it copes with the environmental conditions. Because as it is going on for such a long time, it seems that this is my new life, and so my body tries to adapt. But in the course of doing so, there might be certain genes I would call it subroutines, that are run, that produce some growth, or may even trigger the Warburg cycle or other cycles. I don't know. It's my hypothesis. I would look into that direction. And if that happens, then the entire body would run that way. Potentially. Maybe first a few cells, but if I were the body, I would switch that one on all cells in parallel, because that is more efficient. And what does it bring if you just switch on in one area? That may work like that if you have a part of the body that is somehow irritated from something mechanical. Let's say you're wearing a piece of jewelry against which you're allergic. Of course, I would first try, and you always wear that jewelry at the same place, I would first try to run those cells around that jewelry in a different mode. And that's maybe where a local cancer would start, but the cancer cells, somehow, I heard, they multiply themselves over the body. That may be a wanted property. So, but this is how cancer spreads, and that's what also cancer experts tell me, that when you have a big cancer somewhere, then there are already metastasis. Is it metastasis? In German it would be Metastase. So, which means subsidiaries or other establishments of the same cancer cell type in other parts of the body. And what you see is only those that grow fastest, and you don't see those mini cancer cells. So even if you cut out the big one, then there would be a lot of smaller ones. So I find that fits very well with my systemic point of view. And if I were to treat the body with the knowledge that I have today, in addition to what has been tried out by scientists, I would also try out to bring my body back into the regular specifications. And now it's on you what you decide. I believe rectifying blood values would be a good start because it comes with a regular repetitive measurement. And of those blood values, the hormones are important. And when I adjust my blood values, I wouldn't go so much for pharmaceuticals, but I would rather see what changes in my lifestyle I can do in order to achieve those blood values. And if I can speak from my own experience, I would start with the blood glucose. I'm wearing here a continuous blood glucose meter. And I believe that's a good start. If you get your blood glucose constantly to very low values, as low as possible, without spikes throughout the day, you have done already a lot that contributes towards living within the normal specifications. I'm speaking here as an engineer. Of course, you can go there and from there and do other stuff. I would also do the same with my vitamin D level. And you remember what I said initially about the doctor who recommended against taking vitamin D supplements without even measuring? So I would say, yeah, if you don't need vitamin D because your blood measurement says it's good, and I would rather aim at a high level in what is allowable, I would go for that. I doubt that there is one on this world who can live without vitamin D supplements. If we all have jobs inside a house, right? Very few live outside and work outside. Maybe those exempted. I really love this Singapore. Look at those roads here, the side lanes. So safe, you can walk there even during nighttime. So I've reached half of my walk. 28 minutes. Next, heart attack. I saw two movies on YouTube. One was recorded as in the form of an interview. It was a elderly gentleman, a university professor, and he spoke about sudden death in people and how these would occur more often after the COVID-19 vaccines. And he said that currently nobody wants to look into that matter because probably they don't like the findings. He said that in earlier days, if someone dies of a sudden death, there would be an autopsy. And of course, this wouldn't help the deceased nor his relatives, but if such cases happen on a large scale, it would help the general population, because we might find out a reason that we can then address. But not so today. Today, the professionals are not interested in that. Anyway, what he said was that he analyzed the sudden death, and he said, yes, these deaths come from a blockage of the arteries by particles from inside the arteries. But he mentioned something that jumped at me. It has nothing to do with the sudden death. He says that the arteries do not draw the energy from the blood that they are transporting. When I say the arteries, I mean the body cells that constitute the arteries. The body cells that constitute the arteries have their own blood vessels that supply them with blood. So the cells that provide the pumping of the heart, they don't draw the energy and the blood and the oxygen and the glucose or ketones or whatever. They don't draw that fuel and the oxygen from the blood that they are transporting directly by way of being a artery body cell, but they draw the blood friendly people here from other arteries that are fed to the arteries. Yeah, does it sound logical? I believe so. I mean artery, I mean a blood vessel that produces oxygen-rich blood. And that means several things. Number one, it seems that or it could be, it's my hypothesis, that two things happen in many cases of heart attacks. I'm not saying in all cases of heart, but in some. My tissue. In one case, the artery cells are in such a bad shape that they cannot convert energy and oxygen into mechanical work. It's like an engine failure. For example, I mean, when I say engine, I mean internal combustion engine. For example, when there's a blockage of fuel and or oxygen, air, because of blocked fuel filter and air filter. Another one could be that the engine itself has a blockage because a bearing blocks, or the piston in the cylinder that's probably more than on the cell level means the parts of the cell that provide the mechanical work power for contracting the artery or the heart muscle. And it's also critical that the heart is not the only source of pressure in the body, but the arteries also have muscles that promote or propulse the blood inside them. So I believe that heart and artery cells are not so different from each other. But again, that's my hypothesis, and I'm still searching, but for the time being I work with that. And we have now these two reasons for the blood not being pumped properly through the body. And there's this other talk of a physician, a smart guy. He made the same thoughts, but of course he has obviously studied more literature. And he said that would be a more plausible reason for a heart attack, namely that heart cells and artery cells don't work properly, and not the plaque. And that would explain why people without plaque can get a heart attack, while other people who have plaque in their arteries still live healthily for a very long time. And that gives me very much hope, and I believe should be also give you hope, because being diagnosed with plaque, and there are several types of plaque, is not a death sentence on its own. Depends very much what you make from it, and if you still are walking around, you're able to walk, and you can do something, then it's the time to start doing. Same as for cancer, bring your body into the state where it meets the specifications. And again, blood values are a good start, but also here, my overarching, very important. Overarching tracks a lot. Also, bathroom scales, meaning those extended ones that measure visceral fat and body fat. Then the blood glucose, I already told you, the continuous one here. Also that is more for, oh, nice restaurant here, lots of glass, all new. What I do is every morning I test my body for ketones and blood glucose, and I test my breath for acetone, because this means if I see the right measurement values that my body is in a ketonic state, burning ketones. And then think about what you could do in order to bring those measured values there where they belong to. It is a lot of effort, I agree. It also costs money, but it would also save you money. Because a healthier lifestyle means intake of food and drinks is also much cheaper than an unhealthy one, which is an irony I find. So the poor people, if they know what it is about, could actually live more healthy than the rich ones. Some do, but not all of them, which is a pity. I walk by so many nice places with food because it's lunchtime. Good smells. Yeah, so I've reached more or less the end of what I was about to talk. What I want to say is that there are experts on the internet, YouTube, that are open for other hypotheses when it comes to cancer and heart attack. And both are metabolic disease, or a form of a metabolic syndrome, or And I believe I should not listen to those who believe that cancer and heart attack are some organ failure or part of body failure, singulated. Yeah, that's my opinion. At the end now. This is 43 minutes. See you next time. Goodbye.